The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. I'm really very, very impressed at the number of people who are here tonight. And there may be a few more folks coming in. First off, I'm going to apologize. I guess there was a little issue with parking tonight. There was supposed to be some reserved seats for everybody, but reserved parking spaces for everybody, but something went awry. But I'm more than impressed by the fact that you're here tonight. So thank you very much. For those of you who don't know me, I am Ken Michael. I'm a longtime member and director of the Easton Historical Society and Museum. I am an alum of Stonehill College, which is why I'm wearing Stonehill colors this evening, the purple and white. Tonight's showing of the 1916 silent film version of Snow White is the result of a community partnership between the Easton Historical Society, the Ames Free Library, and Stonehill College. And I have to give credit where credit is due. The catalyst for this partnership was Dana Horrigan, who's sitting up at the end of, standing up actually, at the end of that aisle. And so thank you, Dana, for doing that. This has been great. I called it a community partnership because, as most of you will know, this is the 300th anniversary of the Town of Easton. And we're celebrating that anniversary over 12 months. We're already 4 months into it. The first event that we had was at Stonehill. The last event, a Gallup Ball, is going to be at Stonehill in December. Community partnership events are secondary events. The Tricentennial has a total, depending on how you count, I count 7, some folks count 8, signature events that are running through the year. There's a pamphlet out on the table in the front as you came in that details all of those events, times, places, sponsors, etc. So if you didn't pick one up on the way in, please do so on the way out. While I'm talking about the Tricentennial Committee, Tricentennial, we have a Tricentennial Committee, and tonight we're privileged to have with us the chairman of the Tricentennial Committee, Dave Clifton, who's sitting up there in his Stonehill jersey. Okay. Am I off the hook now, Dave? We also have several other members here. Where's Roz Miller, Diane Lusardi? Oh, there they are. They're all sitting up there with Dave. And also, Dave's long-suffering wife, Lynn. And to say that there's not a lot of hard work going into that would be an understatement, because it is a lot of work and it's being done. Special thanks tonight is in order. I want to thank the Ames Free Library, of which Dana Horrigan is the manager of Quisset House, and I guess the catalyst for tonight's showing. I want to thank the Easton Historical Society and Museum for all its input and help moving along down the road, and Stonehill College. We're here in this theater, Hemingway Theater, because the ambiance in the theater is probably very similar to 1916. It was here when I graduated in 1968, and there were dinosaurs out in the parking lot. So I can tell you right now that this is great in terms of the showing. I want to thank Ed Hance, who's here tonight. He's the Town of Easton's preeminent historian, and he's going to talk a little bit about Winthrop Ames as soon as he can get me off the stage. I want to thank Casey Banks, who is the official artist of the Tricentennial. She is responsible for creating all of the various flyers and posters that you've seen for this event, and also for virtually all the flyers and posters that you may see for the Tricentennial. And if you happen to be going down Route 123 across from CVS in Easton, you'll see a large billboard She's been responsible for the panels that'll be currently up and will go up in the future. Already gone down, up now, and will be ready in the future. So Casey's done a great job. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here with us tonight. Her daughter has a play at Bridgewater Rainham High School tonight, so she has a sense of priorities. I'd also like to say thank you to Doug Smith and Marie Kelly of the Stonehill Advancement Department. They were very instrumental in helping us to get the usage of the theater tonight. I want to thank Matt Green and Derek Martin, who are the heads of the theater program here at Stonehill. Matt Green's the artistic director, Derek Martin is the technical director, and Derek is with us here tonight. He's up there looking out the window and saying, "Don't embarrass me, Ken." And last but not least, I want to thank Mike Piotrowski. As you may know, Winthrop Ames sold the rights to Snow White to Walt Disney. Well, Walt Disney had another animated cartoon later on, it was called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Mike Piotrowski is the lighting, the sound. He's basically the technology of virtually every event I have been to at Stonehill. And I call him the sorcerer, and all of the students who work with Mike and learn a great deal from him are the sorcerer's apprentices. So, thank you, Michael. Mike's up there on the By the way, I'm going to need an escort out of here because Michael may be looking to have a long talk with me after this. I also want to thank Father John Dennett, who is the president of Stonehill College and a great guy in his own right. I'm hoping that Father John is out watching the Stonehill women's lacrosse team play for the championship of their league tonight here on the campus, and hopefully they don't get rained out. But Father John is a tremendous asset to the school. I want to also thank two musicians who will be speaking a little bit later. Leslie McMichael, no relation, on the harp. Barbara McMichael, who's on the viola. And they do this all the time. So you're getting top-notch professionals here tonight. Of course, I think we owe a great deal of thanks to Winthrop Ames, who, under the pseudonym of Jesse Bram White, wrote and produced the original theater production of Snow White. And he later wrote and produced this movie, and it was for children, for kids. And it was, I think, the first time a movie of this kind had been produced for the entertainment of children. He later sold the rights to Walt Disney, which means that the Snow White that everybody's familiar with and everybody sees is the refined animation movie of Snow White. This is a little different. Maybe it's a lot different. One last thing I'd like to say is that some parts of the film are funny, so laugh. Don't feel reticent about laughing. Excuse me, the film is representative of silent movies. It doesn't have the polish or the technical refinements that you would see in Snow White of Walt Disney or today. So you have to put yourself back a little bit, relax and say, isn't it nice to be in 1916 again? So when you're watching the movie, I think that's something that would make you enjoy it even more. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ed Hans, Easton's preeminent historian, who's going to help us out with Winthrop Ames tonight. Before I step down, I am remiss. There are some members of the Board of Directors here for the Easton Historical Society and Museum. Up on my left-hand side is John Coe. Tim Prince John was Hurley. Over on the right is Steve Anderson. So I apologize for that almost omission. Thank you all. Please enjoy the show. Ed?
Hi, I'm going to stay here, so I don't like stairs. So there are a couple more members of the Tricentennial Committee here as well. My friend John Lundgren is here as well. So when what's his name was doing the introductions, Winthrop Ames was born in 1870, and when he was 8 years old, his father took him to New York to watch Edwin Booth, he's the one that didn't shoot the president, in his classic performance of Hamlet. And when the ghost appeared in the first act, young Winthrop dove under his chair and said, "Shush, if we're really quiet, the ghost won't get us," which was his introduction to theater. And as I've gotten ready for tonight's performance, I've been trying to figure out why Snow White, why not Aladdin and the 40 Thieves, or Huckleberry Finn, or something like that. And I don't have an answer, but I have some things I'll quickly share with you. Number one, Winthrop, despite the fact that he grew into a full-size Ames, over 6 feet tall and everything, was a very sickly child. He had very bad asthma. And so he was bedridden for quite a bit of the time and didn't go to elementary school. He had tutors. And in his spare time, he had a miniature theater that he could have in bed and have paper cutouts to run his theater company. When he was feeling good, he dragooned his sisters and his brother into doing full-scale theatrical work. And maybe that's where the idea for Snow White comes from, because Snow White was a grim fairy tale that was written down in 1812. It was really grim. Now when the huntsman gets hurt, his instructions from the queen, cut Snow White's heart out and bring it back to me. Well, the original story was, cut out her lungs and liver and bring it back to me so I can eat it with salt on it. So the heart thing is one of the changes that Winthrop made. Winthrop was also the first person to actually name the dwarfs. Unfortunately, they didn't make it into the 1937 film. And I think we're all better off for Dopey and Grumpy and Sleepy and Quay and et cetera, et cetera. Winthrop gave up the idea of being in Broadway theater when he went off to college, and the bug to do a theater didn't strike him again until after he had been working in the publishing business for 6 years. And then all of a sudden he got the urge. He went to Europe, studied at all the major theaters in Germany and England and France, and then came back, and in 1904 he got a job managing a theater here in Boston. He kept at that for a couple of years, and he was typical of Winthrop, artistically successful, not so much financially successful. It paid to be in Ames, as we'll see in more detail in just a sec. And so in 1908, he was getting ready to build his own theater here in Eastern Massachusetts, and he got the call to go to New York to work in something called the New Theater. And the New Theater was the largest theater in New York, paid for by all these multi-millionaires. And the idea was to create the the ideal film, the ideal theater for America. So Winthrop managed that for 2 years, and at the end of those 2 years, the wealthy people decided to close the theater down because Winthrop had managed to lose $500,000. So he went from having the largest theater to the smallest theater, the Little Theater, off Times Square. It's still there, with a seating of 299 people. He built that with his own money, cost him $181,000, and he recorded that between 1912, when the theater was done, and 1920, he lost another $500,000. Business was actually very good for Snow White. That was one of his big successes. How did this come about? Well, in 1902, his future bride, Lucy Fuller Cabot, flipped a coin to decide which of two twins she was going to marry. And it worked out well for 3 or 4 years, and then a huge divorce occurred. And a huge custody battle occurred because they had 2 children. And then finally, unbeknownst to anybody, the 40-year-old Winthrop snuck across the ocean to England, where Lucy was staying, and they got married. And they would have 2 more children. But I've been reading Winthrop's diary this week, and when he talks about the children in the early part of the diary, he's talking about his adopted children or foster children. And I think those are some of the people that actually spurred him on to do something like Snow White. And finally, the big revelation from looking at the diary is Lucy, his wife, played a big role in the creation of this. She typed the manuscript for him, and the indications in the diary is that they made some changes together. So it was a joint effort, which may explain why the authorship, the pseudonym is a female pseudonym rather than a male pseudonym. So the performance ran for 92 performances at 75% capacity, which was very, very good. It was the very first designed for children's play in New York's history. Children's plays, you all hired musicians or magicians for your kids, etc. Well, this was going to be professional. It's going to be like the Hamlet that he saw when he was a young boy. So it was a smash success. Everybody loved it. And 4 years later, a film company decided to make the silent version. And one of the interesting things about an artist is changing the media of the film is difficult. So going from a stage performance that was filled with songs and music and dance to doing a silent movie was something quite different. So I'm looking forward to watching this film and seeing how you put together a silent film. How do you change a stage play to a silent film? And if I stop talking right now, we can get on with that. Just a couple of quick things. I should mention the fact that Marguerite Clark plays Snow White. She played Snow White in the theater production when she was 29, and she played Snow White 4 years later when she was 33. She was able to pull it off because she was 4 feet 10 inches tall and looked like she was a kid. Besides Mary Pickford, she was the great female star of the early silent movie period. The other thing about silent films to know is they're not at the same speed as we're used to with regular movies. Silent movies run at 18 frames per second. Video today runs at 30 or 60 frames a second, and the Technicolor films we all like to see in the theaters runs at 24. So you may notice the difference. So without further ado, I want to talk or pass this off to someone who's going to tell you a little bit about the music, and that's going to be Leslie. You're come right up
Good evening, everyone. Oh, I love using a microphone. My name is Leslie McMichael. I'm your harp player for this evening. I also composed the score, and I brought along with me my wonderful sister Barbara McMichael, who plays viola, and we have been enjoying doing this for more than a few years. When I started out with silent film, the first film I was commissioned to write a score for was Peter Pan, a 1924 silent film. And that began a wonderful adventure for me. It had never occurred to me, I'm a great movie lover and a longtime musician, but it never occurred to me to play live with a silent film. And it turns out to be the most wonderful, favorite thing I get to do. It's as you will see, there's some very expressive faces in silent film, and it makes it a lot of fun for the musicians to interact with these long gone characters, but we do get the privilege of bringing them back to life. I wonder if I could see a show of hands. Could you raise your hand if you've seen a silent film before? A lot of people, and I'm not gonna guess, but maybe more than half. How about, have you seen a silent film with a live score? A few fewer people. It's a lot of fun to play live. We have great enjoyment of trying very hard to hit our cues. And I do go back to that issue of just being able to play expressive music that brings the story to life. I think if you were watching this without music, it wouldn't be quite the same, but it's a lot of fun for us. I marvel at the fact that Walt Disney saw this as a teenager in 1916, and then it took the impact it had on him was so great that 21 years later, when he was embarked in his filmmaking career, this was the film that he chose to transform into his animated classic. Of course, long preceded any day where you would be able to go back and see that movie again, rent from the store or check out the streaming service. I gather that it just put its little poison apple hooks into his brain, and he just was very convinced by its potential to be transformed into the animated film that most people, as Ed mentioned, most people are very familiar with. I also marvel at the fact that this film was lost for a long time. The vast majority of silent films that were made in the early filmmaking years are gone. And that is for two reasons. One is that they're made on highly flammable nitrate film stock, and the other is that once talking films came in, silent films were considered passé. And so many of those films were just tossed out by the studios, which is a great tragedy. How this film was rediscovered is sort of amazing, because almost complete print was discovered in the Netherlands. Had Dutch intertitles originally, so the George Eastman House was able to translate and restore the intertitles to English. But imagine that film, 1916, they found a print, and there that print was hidden away through the First World War, through the Second World War, and all the way up until 1998. So I'm so overjoyed that someone was able to find it, see what they had, and managed to restore it so that you can see the wonderful Winthrop Ames story that we'll see tonight. I want to thank Dana Horrigan from the Ames Free Library. She was very persistent and wonderful as we worked over a period of, I think, a couple of years to try to bring this to fruition. And I also want to thank Ken Michael, love that name, Ken, and Mick Michael. And I do really appreciate the fact that this was a great collaboration, and I'm so honored, Barbara and I are both honored that this is part of your town's wonderful celebration. I think without further ado, I'm going to go over and play my harp, which is my favorite thing to do. Thank you very much for coming.
Prince Charmless has arrived. Well, again, thank you all for coming tonight. If anybody has any questions, and if you'd like maybe some answers, I'm sure there's some folks here who can give them to you. And I first want to express my apology, Joan, to having missed you on the committee. I accept my punishment. So, if you have any questions, or I guess not. Oh, hold on, no. Here's the lady with the answers.
It depends on who wants to answer the question, but I will ask this gentleman in the second row, yes.
So I assume when the original played there was music similar. Is that score, or do you guys have that score?
So the question is, was the music that I wrote similar to what existed before? Good question. Actually, well, so this film was reissued by, I believe, the American Film Institute or the Smithsonian on 50 great silent restored films. And I love the score that's on it, which is piano, but I didn't listen to it too much because I wanted to be able to make some of my own choices. And also, harp is different from piano, and harp and viola is quite a bit different because we get to share the load in some senses. So I have no idea if harp and viola was used back in the day. There certainly were, in addition to piano and some of the fabulous theater organs that are installed in historic theaters around the country, there were full orchestras. There very well could have been chamber ensembles, so I think harp and viola is great. Of course. Other questions? Right in the middle.
How many other films have you scored, like maybe silent films or other?
I have scored about 6 other films. My first commission was for Peter Pan, 1924 Peter Pan. It's fabulous. After that, I was asked to write a score for a Mary Pickford film called A Little Princess. That followed up with a really cool, if you've never heard of Baby Peggy, you need to research Baby Peggy. She was an early child star, and she was in a film called Captain January, which, if you like old movies, you do probably know the name Captain January, famous for Shirley Temple, but Baby Peggy preceded her. And then Snow White. I also, in addition to harp and viola for Snow White, I was asked to commission a score for the British Film Institute did something called the Hitchcock Nine. Alfred Hitchcock did a number of silent films before he transitioned to the films we know him for best, but the British Film Institute commemorated that, and the film that I wrote a score for was called Champagne, which fits the harp really well. And there also are a few short films that I've written for, and I'm looking for my next project, so thank you for asking. Over there, right there.
Do you know where the film was made?
So this film was made here in the US. You're asking about like where the studio was.
Right.
Well, we do know, as the trivia stated, we do know that some of those exterior shots were with the beautiful hanging moss and the lion, hello. but the hanging moss is from Georgia. I honestly, I do not know, and I should research where that was shot. There is an area in right across the river from New York City called Fort Lee, and Fort Lee has had lots of silent filmmaking in the early years. Also, I believe New Rochelle did. So there were a lot of silent films that were made in the eastern U.S. before everything kind of headed off to Hollywood. So I'm going to research that. Yes?
I have a two-part question.
Okay.
Number one, I'm curious about your process. That is, do you view the film several times, make notes about the movie? How do you approach that when you score it? And number two, I noticed that the film was colorized, and that was obviously not in the original. Is that something that you see with a lot of the silence that you score?
So for the second question, First, there are tints in this film, and I believe that there was some color tinting that did happen in different silent films. Some were completely black and white, but some had a pink and a blue, and even there were some that were painstakingly, frame by frame, made multicolors. Pretty amazing for the day. And then my process, yes, I watched each film that I worked, that I composed music for many times, which is why I'm fortunate to live now when I can, hit replay and watch things again. And I developed themes for the characters. You might have heard that, oh, here comes Snow White, so here's the Snow White music again. And I did a lot of longhand. I like to take those longhand notes and write things down.
How long does it take typically to score a film?
I'm very motivated by deadlines. I create when someone says, would you do this? And yes, I will. And so the first time the Peter Pan score, which was the initial one, and also initially when I started, I thought, oh, maybe I could improvise that whole time, and I soon decided, no, I didn't want to do that. I can improvise, I know how to do it, it's fun. I didn't want to do it for 102 minutes. So, and I know some of my very talented silent film accompanist colleagues do much more improvisation than I do, but I notate it out fully, and I write the cues in my music, and when I hit them, I'm happy, and when I don't hit them, I play faster or slower. Don't know if you noticed, but that's what human beings can do. So that's pretty much the story there for how my writing comes about. It probably took 2 months the first time. It might be nice to have a little more time, but I'm trying to think ahead to what I want to do next. I'm looking at an Ernst Lubitsch film called The Oyster Princess, and he was known for some very stylish sort of 30s, early 30s comedies, but before that, once again, just like Hitchcock, he did silent films in Europe. So,
Thank you.
thank you for your question. What are your thoughts, your questions? Yes, hello.
When you were performing tonight or maybe something like this, do you plan stuff in the movie every now and then?
Do I what?
Do you
Oh.
plan- because I looked at you a couple of times and your eyes were on your music, so. And I thought either she just memorized this whole film or.
That's a fabulous question, because I do look now and then. I'm certainly looking up for, like, here's the intertitle I've written in my music, and the intertitle is the spoken dialogue written out on the screen. And I'm generally looking for those, because I've notated those, and I do look up, maybe not as much, because we've played this film quite a few times, and so we're pretty comfortable with it. It's never the same. It's never identical, because we're human beings. So, but thank you. That's interesting. I do have to see the screen. She doesn't. She has to see me. Although we play another harp and viola film together, the Big Peggy Captain January one, which is harp, viola, and toy instruments. And so Barbara gets to play the xylophone and does need to kind of, I don't know, that was a little more challenging for her to be able to see the screen and play and see me, and so we make it work though. In the back, yes, hello.
Hello. Great job. I can't believe I was looking
Thank
at
you.
you.
We're hard working.
You were going nonstop. How were your fingers? I mean, you did that for an hour. That's amazing. Just amazing.
You know, that's terrific, because a terrific observation, because I don't get tired from this. I'm happy, in my musical life, I'm happy to also play for a Mother's Day brunch or a wedding or a funeral. Well, not happy, but you know what I mean. And when I'm playing sort of more ambient atmosphere music, it's a little more tiring than this. This completely engages both of us, and so I don't know. I'm kind of energized. So nope, I don't get tired from this at all. And there was somebody, yes, hello.
Has anyone filmed you playing so that you have a recording of your music?
Interesting question. We don't have a recording of this, and okay, I need your name. we'll make one and be motivated to send it to you. You commented. Ginny, Marie, okay. Now I know. It is good to know that. I have to say that it would be good to do that at some point in the future. Ken had said how we're full-time silent film accompanists. Well, you know what? The demand for silent film accompanists is such that we do other things as well. We are thrilled to do this, but and I do have some recordings, so I will get your name. Yes, indeed. I didn't. Hi. What is your question? How many years? How many years has this score been out with this movie? So the movie, okay, make me do my math. So the movie was made in 1916, and this is 2025. So yeah, 100 and, thank you. Yeah, so it's amazing that it's still around, and I think she's a very charming snow wife. So thank you for asking that question and making me do public math. Over there, yes.
Sort of answering the question that came from over there. How can I hear Leslie and Michael play the harp? You have an echo and you say, Alexa, play Leslie and Michael.
Oh. Okay. So if you'd like to hear more of my music in the future, my website is pluckmusic.net, and I do have music on Bandcamp, but you can ask your Evil Empire device to play me. So you can say, play Leslie McMichael, and you will hear my Peter Pan score. You might also hear my Snowfall harp solos for Christmas music. And I'll be making more, so thank you for inquiring. Thank you, Helen. Everybody, thank you for coming tonight. You're a wonderful audience.
I think another round of applause is due. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate being here. And as I said earlier, I'm really impressed by the number of people that are here. So I hope you had a great time. I did. And we should do this again next week.